Updog Broadway. We got an absolute legend, one of my favorite teammates. We played together on the back end of our careers, but Brian, Big Ern, Mcgrattan.
That's probably a good thing.
I know, buddy. I know. I just remember some days I'd come into the rink in San Diego and you'd be like, "How you doing, big boy?" And I'm like, I gotta be honest, Ern, I'm not doing that well, bud.
Yeah. Big boy, where are we?
we went from fucking flying on the private bird in Calgary playing cards to sitting in the back of the fucking iron lung, didn't we?
And then when that iron lung, I sent you that pic, when that iron lung broke down on the highway there on the number 5 in rush hour traffic. Boys, the Uber Eats are showing up to the side of the broken down lung. And then we had to wait like an hour and a half for the new one that was stuck in traffic. Then it took how long to get to where we were playing, and we just got rinsed. Like, there's no point of even going to play the fucking game.
No, like, we were going from San Diego to fucking San Jose, and she broke down about Bakersfield in the middle of fucking nowhere. Oh, yeah. And my back is already in one, Ern. I'm like, fuck, Ern, I got to get off this lung. So we're standing on the side of the fucking 5 highway. And I'm just looking at the Big Ern going, what in the fuck is going on here? But
like a year ago, we were flying on the PJ, you know. Hey, and then all of a sudden, me and the Big Obes are on the side of the number 5, broken down iron lung, just looking at each other like, where has my career gone? What happened?
We were getting a little more ice time in San Diego than we did in Cowtown, but fuck, we weren't enjoying the fire. Hey, Ern, I just remember fucking about the second period with that fucking Pigeon Hartley. I would just be look at you. We just take the fucking chin straps off. And we're like, well,
oh yeah, just the grocery sticks. Just look at each other. Oh god.
Hey, Big Ern, I want to ask you, and for our listeners, I never asked you this when I played with you. How did you get the fucking nickname the Big Ern? Was it from the Kingpin or anything, or how did it come about?
Yeah, it was from Kingpin. So when it was my first year in Binghamton, that's back when, you know, you had 6 cases of beer on the bus for a 2-hour trip. We were all piled up. I think we were going to, it wasn't a far trip. I think we were going to Wilkes-Barre, not a far one. And we threw on Kingpin on the way back after the game. And when Big Ern McCracken came up and threw out the bowling ball with the flower in it, all the boys were like, Big Ern! Pointing at me. So yeah, it just kind of stuck from there.
Big Ern, let's talk about that fucking year in bingo. I'm pulling it up right now.
Oh, I got it right here, Obes. I was going to ask him
Broadway,
about that.
You ask him, Broadway.
Uppy never played in the minors, though. Eh?
Oh, I did. Are you fucking nuts? I was on that iron lung, but it was only fucking Milwaukee, Chicago back.
Yeah, you played on the good side, but you
was.
weren't over with the muck on the east.
That's why I wanted to ask you, Big Ern. That 2004-2005 year, you had 551 penalty minutes. I don't think I had 551 penalty minutes with my college and NHL careers combined. I just want to know what was going on in the league then, who were you fighting, and how many fighting majors did you have that year?
I think I had 43, or I think I had 43.
Who's counting after
majors.
fucking
I actually
25?
had 42 fights. I speared Eric Goddard in the throat, so that was my 43rd major. But yeah, that year, you know, coming in, it was that lockout season, and just the reputation that the Ottawa Senators had, you know, always getting the shit kicked out of them by the Leafs and being a soft team and all that stuff. I figure if I was like super crazy that year, that they would have no choice but to take me on their team after the lockout ended. I mean, I kind of took it to another level. Like, I mean,
550 fucking minutes.
That's like a fight every other night.
Yeah, just the amount of, and the thing on the differences between the conferences back then. On the West, it was kind of more the IHL style type system where you had a lot of older guys, better cities, all that stuff. But on the East, it was crazy. Like, I mean, my rookie year, I was the lightweight. We had Dennis Bombi and Wade Brookbank were the two kind of heavyweights that fought everybody, and I was still getting shit kicked out of me because I didn't really know how to fight. I came out of junior, you know, we fight a little bit in junior, but nothing compared to what the pro level's like. And it took me a couple years to kind of figure out, you know, if that was going to be a role for me. And then that lockout season hit, and I just kind of, and I went on a bit of a tear. But the game back then, you had legit 3 or 4 heavyweights per team. Like the fourth line was in a checking line. was all the mutants. And, you roll into Albany, they had Rob Skurlock, Brett Kluche, Cam Jansen, Hartford had Richard Scott, Garrett Burnett. You can just go down the list of heavyweights per team on that eastern side. And I think I got my fighting was really good because of that. I always thought the guys in the minors at that time were tougher than the guys in the NHL. They just couldn't play as well. Yeah. So the guys that I was fighting, I would consider them just as tougher than NHL fighters. And I think that's kind of what kicked off my start into the NHL, why I did so well as a rookie against a lot of those NHL heavyweights.
And then, Obi, I want to jump in. You didn't have hockeyfights.com. You couldn't study any of these fighters. You just seen them firsthand when you step on the ice. You'd see 3 or 4 fights a night. So you're okay, this is how this guy is going to come at me.
We didn't have, like you said, the internet, for viewing all that stuff was kind of maybe just starting at that time. There was no video, it was VHS tapes and all that stuff, right? So you fight a guy, and I think you learn by getting shit kicked out of you and what you're going to do the next time and not do it. That's how I learned.
Well, yeah, Big Ern, and that's what I wanted to so Big Ern, he had you had 30 your last year in the O, right? And you hurt your knee. Did you get 30 or 29 or something like that?
20 and 30 games.
Yeah,
and then,
something like that. So
I tore my ACL and missed almost the whole season. Yeah.
I was in the league then. The Big Ern was high stepping around with Spez, I think. It was just, but anyways,
I would sit on the power play. Spez would deke out 4 guys and hit me in the back door.
but you touched on it a bit, and the thing that before I met you, I thought you were the scariest fuck. When I met you, I still thought you were scary. But the mindset you had when you fought, you just said, fuck it, I'm going in there. Granted, you were good at it. How long did it take you to get that? Or you just said, fuck it from the start, I'm going to go in there and, like you say, sit in the pocket, big boy?
Yeah, that was kind of always my style, just to throw them. I always hated guys that would hug and all that stuff. I really felt, we got to give the fans some entertainment value for their money, and 2 guys are going to fight. They want to see you go toe to toe. And, it was really good and it was really shitty sometimes. I've gotten buckled a couple times, but that's the way that position goes. And I always, even though I was always a top guy, I never ever bragged about it or carried myself that way. I was never super cocky about it, because I always knew that day is going to come that you're going to get your ass kicked. And, if you're carrying that other stuff by the cocky stuff, I'm the best, I'll kill anybody, all that stuff, you just look like an idiot. So, every time I've always lost, I've been very humble about it. I've always congratulated the guy that's beat me, and then I try and kill him the next time I fucking fought him.
That's true. And Ern, the thing I loved, I don't know when you started doing this, but remember when you'd square off, which you typically did in every one of your fights, and you just put the hands on the knees. Hey, you just come out with the hands on the knees, and I was when did you start? Was that just a reaction?
Line myself up and kind of pick an angle, and the kind of angle I wanted to go on, and I take a couple of deep breaths, because a lot of fighting, and if you really want to get good at it and have long fights, your breathing is the most important part, right? So when I was kind of squaring off, I'd bend down, I'd kind of pick a line that I'd want to go in and really start to control my breathing, because if a guy gets an early start on me, that's fine, because I know that I'm going to outlast him a minute or a minute and a half in. I'll lay the boots to him, and that's usually what happened.
I've seen that happen on your behalf many a times. Yeah, wild.
Broadway, what do you got?
I was just going to ask you about. I know Oppie was going to touch on it too, but with your role now with Calgary. How do you go about pushing a kid to step out of his comfort zone? Because I know I wish I did it more. Are you giving these kids advice and tips on how to expand their games? I remember one time you spoke about Dennis Bonvie. He came down to Rockford and he didn't tell me to fight. He just wanted me to add it to my game, add a little bit of confidence, and I go out there and get into a fight. Then 2 weeks later I'm called up, and it's just something I wish I did more throughout my career, because who knows? I know fighting's mostly out of the game now, but there's always going to be a place for it, and might be a place still playing if I fought more.
Even though that role is gone from the game. The fighting still happens, right? So, I got guys on kind of each level of our organization, whether it's junior guys or guys in the minors or guys here that always want to let me show them tips on what they can do, what they can get better at, maybe even how to protect themselves and where to grab if they get jumped and stuff like that. With the NHL team, it's kind of tough for me to jump on the ice with guys and do that here. You get the media stuff and all that. Like if I jump on the ice, I'm showing this guy how to fight, where that's going to go, especially, But when I'm down in the minors, it's cool. Like we got some kids down there that we got this Martin Pospisil kid. He's a Slovakian kid, but he's a throwback player. He plays super mean and tough. So, showing him some things last year. We have Alex Gallant, who is one of our real good veteran leaders down there. He, his whole family can throw him, but it's nice to, but it's nice to get on there and just show a guy, and I can teach him how to fight a big guy, him being a smaller guy. And then with some of our guys that come out of junior and college that have never been in a fight before, just to kind of show them certain protection techniques and stuff, just so they can have the confidence out there, knowing that they can play any way, and not have to worry about it. And you don't necessarily have to go out and pound a guy, but if something happens, because the American League, I think, will always be the American League. There's always a lot of tough guys down there and tougher players down there, and it always has that different bit of an edge than the NHL. Games tend to get out of hand down there still. So it's good for our younger guys to have confidence going in those games, knowing if anything happens, they'll be okay.
Grats. I know you were fucking tough as hell when you played, but what you've done since you've retired and the latter half of your career when you kind of you battled some mental health, substance stuff, I think your toughness that you've shown in this mission post hockey to help younger kids, and when Jimmy just brought that up, I wanted to ask you, like a lot of our listeners probably don't know the role that you have in the NHL, because it's a new role, a role that I think Calgary brought to you and said, look, we want you to be ears and eyes in our dressing room on a daily basis with our younger kids and our older guys who might not have the balls or the confidence to come and talk about whatever's going on in their lives that bothers them, whether it's family issues or substance issues or things going on in their lives that they don't have an out to talk to, and it was impossible for us to talk to a coach when we were kids.
Yeah, it was or even part.
Or Gratz, even like the captain of the team, like you felt like, fuck, I'm 22 years old. If I'm telling this guy that I'm, that I have a gambling problem and, I lost a bunch of my money fucking gambling, like he's going to tell on me and he's not going to maybe fix my problem. But there's so many issues that, athletes and young adults and, people that play a contact sport dealing with head injuries and stuff. So much gets, brought to light and can come crashing down on guys. And your role with Calgary, I think if you can just kind of touch on it, like it's really, really cool. And Jordan Tutu, my best friend, he went through so much at a younger age. You were a big part of his transition and, helping with his sobriety and all that. And, having a guy like you around can just help. So, maybe share like that role that you have and what it means to you to be on this side of it now and helping younger kids. That must be like super fulfilling for you.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it is like really fulfilling. And to touch on what you said earlier on when we were coming into the league or coming into pro hockey, the mentality was a lot different back then, I would say, on both sides of, the drinking culture was pretty big when I broke into the minors. Obviously, moving up to the NHL changed a little bit, but not much. And, there was never really anybody to talk to. And when I have a drinking problem, drug problem, or whatever, the only two people I could talk to are a head coach and a GM. And those are the two last people on the fucking planet I'm going to go and talk to. Yeah. I've always been a bottom of the lineup guy or extra player in the NHL, and the mentality back then, they would probably just view you as a problem. We'll get rid of this guy and just bring another guy up to fill a spot, and you're always so worried about that. Meanwhile, on the other side, I'm dying away from the rink at home with substance abuse, and it took me a long time to figure that out. And when I was 27 years old playing in Phoenix, I went on a 5-day bender, turned off my phone, didn't leave my house, and just locked myself in my room. And that was kind of my rock bottom. figured it out after that, and called my agent, called the team, and said I got to go away and get some help here. And I just left it open on, I don't know if I'm going to want to play when I'm done. I got a lot of work to do on myself. If I have the itch and the desire to play, then I'll take another crack at my NHL career, but I got to go away for a little bit here and figure my life out. And I did. And I came back, and I missed about 3.5 months. And my first practice back, I never felt so good. I got sent down to San Antonio at the time, was Phoenix's farm team, on a conditioning stint. And after missing 3.5 months, my first practice, I never ever in a long time felt that good on the ice. I was down for 2 weeks. I got called back up to play the last 10 games. My first fight back was against Jody Shelley. It was awesome. And then my second fight was against George Peros, and I went to throw a punch, and he blocked the punch, and I completely blew my shoulder out. So I had to get reconstructive shoulder surgery. It was kind of the first test of early sobriety on the fact that I just had a major setback about 4 or 5 months into sobriety. Now, how am I going to deal with that? Because I can't deal with it the way I used to deal with it. And the other thing was, the first thing they give me after my surgery was oxys for the pain. Well, like, fuck, I'm taking those. So my mom was with me to help me out, and I just asked her to dump them down the toilet, and she did. And I took over-the-counter Tylenol for 3 weeks with 2 new screws and new bones in my shoulder, and it was the most painful experience of my life. But moving on from that, I was able to play in the league another 5 or 6 years and kind of develop a role I never really thought I would ever see myself in. And just as the years got on, the more comfortable I got in my sobriety, the more comfortable I got speaking out about how players like me and players, what we go through, we're no different than any other guys in the team. We might have some stuff like going on our lives, but everybody does. And, I've created a lot of really cool and neat friendships along the way. Like you mentioned, Jordan Tutu is one of my best friends. Getting to play with him in Nashville, I got picked up on waivers by the Preds, and Toots was in early sobriety. I was only clean for like a year, and we just kind of leaned on each other through that year and created a really unique friendship. I became really good friends with Nate Thompson over the last, 5 or 6 years, and he's done a hell of a job on the teams he's been playing with. Being a leader, and also a leader and a face for guys in sobriety. Robin Lehner's become a good friend of mine too. So, you're seeing players year after year coming out and being open with their struggles and actually being such a positive influence, not only guys that they play with, but also the fans that are watching. Because we can help them too with our stories. And moving into the role I'm on with the Flames, it's under the player development umbrella, but I'm in player assistance. Like, I'll do a little bit of the hockey stuff with amateur scouting and pro scouting when I'm at junior games or pro games, watching our guys. But I go from, I'll go see our prospects, our draft picks. I'll spend like a week with them, really get to know them, explain my role, my history, my playing career, and really trying to create friendships and a unique bond with these kids at a young age and steer them in the right direction. And the pro level, it's a little different because you've got guys that have been around for 6, 7, 8, 9 years that are vets, and we got guys that are rookies and stuff. And I'll have I do like a speech with each team at the beginning of the year, and the Flames and the Stockton Heat when both teams start, on my role, why I'm around. And it's not, when I talk to a player, it goes from me to the trainer, to the GM, to the coach. No, everything stays really confidential. And it's just being an outlet there for guys. It's a position I really wish I had when I was coming through and struggling with my off-ice stuff, and then a position that a lot of players, and even guys that you guys have played with, wish a guy was around just to, shoot the shit with, take the edge off. If I'm struggling, hey man, this is what I'm going through. Can you help me out? Can you relate to what I'm going through? And I think just having that around our room has really transformed our dressing room and rink into a safe place where players can come and not have to worry about all the other stuff, just knowing that they're going to have a support network that's been created in our organization to, if they are struggling with whatever they're struggling with, that there's going to be people around to help you. And you don't have to worry about your jersey being taken or your lineup spot being taken, because mental health and stuff it's a part of life. It's a part of everybody's life. Everybody has it in their family, and it's not taboo anymore. And we just want to create the safest environment for our players, knowing that as good as your life can be away from the rink, the better you're going to perform when you come to play. And it's really kind of taken off with us. And I've created a lot of amazing relationships with players in all parts of our organization.
Was it Brad? So we had Brad Treliving. I was there in Phoenix, by the way, when you came back. I remember. I remember the fight with Shelley. I remember you coming off, holding your shoulder like 3 or 4 games back. So I know how tough you are firsthand. Brad Treliving was our assistant GM at the time.
Yeah.
Was he a big reason why he brought you in? Because Calgary, Calgary Flames going ahead and getting out front of this with you and making you part of their hockey ops is something I think every NHL team should really look at and find a guy that fits a role that can really help players not only on the ice but providing that safe zone. I think that's huge. But I always love Brad Treliving. Can you touch on probably what he's been?
Yeah, that's where the relationship started, was in Phoenix. Don Maloney was our GM. Brad was our assistant GM, and that's where the relationship started. I think it was 12 or 13 years ago now, and kind of stayed in contact throughout the time. I was in different organizations. I'd always bump into Brad at rinks when we were playing with Phoenix, and then he took over the GM job here with my last year with the Flames. And, playing wise, it didn't really go the way I wanted to. I was 34 years old. I got sent down halfway through the year, but whatever. It happens to everybody. And, had a really good chat with him at the end of that season and said, I'd like to, we had, like I said, a good chat about, maybe a potential role. But I said, listen, I'm not done playing yet. I think I might have a year or 2 left in me. And I went and played the next year with Big Oaks in San Deigo, and I finished my career off and playing over in England, but still kept in contact with the Flames, kept in contact with Brad. And moving into that first summer off of retirement, they asked me to come in and speak at their development camp to their young players. So I put a presentation together for the team and just kind of left it at that throughout the summer. And then about mid-August, Brian Burke called and said, me and Brad would like to have you have a meeting with you tomorrow if you're available. I'm like, yeah, no problem. And I thought it would be, maybe they'd like me to come and do a presentation for the main group at training camp. And they offered me a position. They explained what the position would be, and they offered me a position in the player development department under the player assistance role and what it would entail, and if I'd be up for it, if I'd be interested in doing it. And I said, yeah, man, bring me on. I can do it. And it just kind of started from there. I'm in my 4th season now with the team.
Awesome, buddy.
Yeah, Big Ern, I'm so proud of what you're doing, bud. I knew you had it in you, and how great of a father you are, and a wife to cupcakes. I want to go back to what you said when you made your comeback after you went and got clean. And I know you didn't lose this, but were you ever worried about losing your edge? Because I know some guys, I'm not going to name names, guys I played with, that tried to get sober, and they just lost that spark and meanness out there. Yeah. I know you never did. Were you ever concerned about that at all, Big Ern?
Not. There was always a question of would I be as crazy, and I always considered crazy with being a good fighter. I felt after I got sober, I was hungrier and I was better. Like I was a way better fighter when I was got clean and sober. I was hungrier. I was more focused, more ready. Obviously, I was in better shape, better conditioning. But at that second half of my career, like I went on it. I think I didn't lose a fight for 6 or 7 years. And the best part of losing that fight, I got buckled. There's no other way to go down.
Oh, fuck, buddy. I know. But I'll tell you what. I got a great story. So I'm playing in Vancouver, and we're going into the Saddle Dome, and poor Darcy Horidchuk, eh? So we have a pretty tough team. We got Hordy, myself, Glasser. So Big Ern comes out with the fucking blonde mohawk, and he is just drooling over the red line. And I mean, like,
just not even looking at a pocket.
I don't know if he threw one sauce pass the whole fucking warm up. He was just working the line. So we come in after warm up, and Hordy comes over to me. He's like, hey, I think if we just let the Big Ern sleep tonight, he's not going to do anything. I'm like, did you see the guy out there? He's fucking drooling over the red line, first shift, fucking Mcgrattan and throwing. So I knew you never lost your edge on that point, but that was the one story I always loved telling about the Big Ern. I'm like, Hordy, you're not getting out of this fucking bar without fighting him. So you should fight him first shift because I'm not fucking fighting him. So
we should just let him sleep tonight. Big boy, you see that guy? He's drooling over the red line.
He ain't sleeping, but he's sleeping after the game, but he ain't sleeping. So, Big Ern, that was always one of the stories about playing against you that I loved. But Broadway, what do you got?
Big Ern, now that you're involved with Calgary a lot, and there's a lot of heat with the Battle of Alberta, can we give us some insider info on, do you think there'll be some fireworks this year, and what do you think of this Matthew Tkachuk's game?
Yeah, he's obviously, I would say, the best pest in the league. Obviously, he's a very, very good player, but he does have that edge to him, the edge that usually drives everybody on the other team insane.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have that rivalry back. I mean, they had that big brawl last year, the Cassian Tkachuk thing, and you got two very good teams out here now that's adds some extra spark to that rivalry. Obviously, a little different this year with no fans in the building. I think the other night it was a back and forth game. It was chippy. There was a lot of goals. Like, that place had been rocking, but there was nobody there. So I think the atmosphere part of that side of that rivalry is obviously not going to be there this year, but it's definitely sparked. He's be some sparks with the Leafs, probably with Muzzin shooting that puck at him the other last week. So I mean, he definitely can, and I think having a guy like that, I think Sean Avery is the best of all time in that role. And he's another guy that could play the game really well, but obviously, like, those guys can take top end players right out of the game, by little things they do, like that, jabbing a guy in the back of the legs, or giving a little tap in the back of the nuts after the whistle, or cross checking the back, face wash, the late hits, the hip chat, all that stuff, and the chirping, and guys that are really good at that. They can take very, very good players on the other team right out of the game, because that's all they're worried about is this guy. And I would say he's elite at it, and probably the best in the league at it for now. Yeah.
Big Ern, I'm going to fucking turn the clocks back again here. It was 7 years ago. So we had that fucking gong show at fucking Vancouver. So our listeners were asking me to describe it. So, and the first thing I said was, I came in for morning skate. And I've been out late in Vancouver because, I was playing about 5 minutes then. So I went out a little late, and I came in, and the look on your face was like Santa Claus just came down the fucking chimney. And I'm like, big boy, what's going on? And you're like, it's on today, big boy. So just for our listeners, walk us through it from your perspective, because you were the main reason it went down.
Yeah, well, we got called in, and, I think we were on a 7 or 8 game losing streak. We're finishing off. We did the California trip. We lost a couple games at home, did the California trip, got rinsed, and we're hitting Vancouver on the way back at our last game of the trip. And we got called in to the office. And Bob, our line had a goal and assist in San Jose the game before, and we only played 5 or 6 minutes. And Bob said, listen, nobody else in that room deserves to start the game tonight. You guys had a good game, and you have not started the game all season. I'm going to start you tonight in Vancouver. And he left it at that. We left the room, and I just pulled everybody together. I said, fuck it, let's just fight them. Who cares if we lose another game? We're not making the playoffs. Let's just fight them. We hate these guys probably more than any other team in the league. And if they dress their fourth line, let's fight them. And Torts got all fucking out of whack on if he would have dressed the Sedins. I have never in my career jumped a fucking... Those guys are going to be in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. I've never fought or jumped a player like that. If they would have dressed that line, legit, I would have dumped the puck in and waited till the next shift to fight. The plan was to fight the fourth line, not the Sedins. And Torts got all out of whack. But anyways, they dressed the fourth line. And I was like, game on, baby. And the refs didn't know what to do, because I was about 20 feet away from Sestito with my gloves on my fingertips.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Kevin Westgard was holding his stick like a golf club trying to take. He's never taken a draw in his life. He's holding a stick like a golf club. The ref didn't know what to do. BS just coming in and out. The deer were getting ready to fight each other and all that stuff. Anyways, the puck drops. We fight, and they're all pretty good fights. And we get to the box, and they're like, you know, Jones, Butler,
Schmid.
Westgarth, and the other D-man. You guys are out of the game. I got to stay in the game because my gloves hit the ice first, so technically I was the first fight. Everybody else was a secondary fight, so they got booted. I planned the whole thing and got to stay in the game. And anyways, period ends. I'm right behind the Big Ob. Big Obes is first in the room, then the coaches, and then I'm walking and into the room, and Torts isn't a big guy. And I feel this little nudge by my elbow. I look down, it's Torts. He's like, fuck you, Bob. I'm going to fucking kill you, motherfucker. I'm going to fucking I'm like, so I just stiff armed him right out into the wall, and like the glove dryers.
Right over the glove dryer.
And I got Torts kind of pinned against everything, and all the other coach, you couldn't see, their coaches are down the hallway. And I was going to drop my glove and drop Torts. But I was saying that in my head, and then the other thing I was saying, like, there has to be a camera somewhere. So I was like looking down the hallway and like looking at the door, looking down the hallway. I had no idea that camera was on the roof.
You did?
Like, I had no clue. So anyways, I was saying, should I hit him? Should I not? Should I hit him? And I'm like, man, if I drop a coach right now, like, it's
might buy you another 5 years in the league.
So I'm glad it ended the way it did. But nobody knew that camera was on the roof, and the only reason the camera was on the roof because it was hockey night in Canada. That's the only reason they put the only games they put that camera there, getting guys coming in and out of the dressing room. So I mean, in hindsight, great. I'm glad it ended the way it did. I
mean, Big Ern, I'm not glad. I wish you would have let I wish you would let Torts in.
And the other thing is, I should have let him in the room too. Looking back, go and get that guy, please. Just
I know. At that point, Big Ern didn't quite know. Hartley wasn't quite a complete fucking dick to Big Ern yet, which he did later in his career. But the thing I remember the best about Ern was, he comes in, he goes, "Big boy, I started that whole fucking thing. I'm still out here playing, big boy." He's like,
started the whole
fucking
playing.
thing.
The fucked up thing is everybody gets kicked out of the game, and I'm still getting one shift every 8 shifts. And we got fucking less than half a bench. I was like, come on, man.
But I know. I go the other way. I go from fucking staying out fucking past curfew in Vancouver to thinking I'm playing 4 minutes. I play like 24. I'm out there just fucking dying.
Yeah, I think TJ Brody almost had the record for ice time that night. I think he missed it by I think he played like 38 or 39 minutes.
Wow. Oh yeah. They still didn't want to put me on the ice, Bigger, but they didn't have a fucking choice.
And you were still parked.
Hey, Big Ern, I mean, I loved playing with you. And this kid that you know way more than I do now, Sean Monahan. I loved Monty when he was a rookie with us. I remember, like, after 2 or 3 months in the season, we finally had to go to him and be like, "Hey, Monty, like, you can talk a little more than you're talking, buddy. Like, we know you proved that you're a good rookie."
Oh, yeah.
Just
the best part, Monty always brings it up, because me and Obes are always really picky on what designer suit you would wear. And, you know, you get the guys coming right out of junior or whatever, and crack open his suit pocket, it says like a Morse or whatever, right? Yeah. So we get on and we're starting like our first long road trip of the year, and we get on the plane, and we're going back to sit by the card table. I grabbed a handful of blueberries, and I just, "Hey, Monty, what's up?" He turned around, I just smeared them all over his white shirt. I'm like, "Go get a better shirt when we get to fucking LA, bud."
How about the time you punched when we were playing poker and you punched your hole right through the fucking top of the board?
So we're playing poker in the back, and like when I would go on losing streaks, they would be epic losing streaks, and you know, I'm losing the whole trip, whatever. Lose a big hand, and I'm like, fuck, and I punched, because guys would always like kind of hit the table or the window a little bit, and I was like, fuck. I put my hand right through, like the
fucking overhead storage. You put it right through the whole fucking
the oxygen mask coming down.
Yeah. So, and then 3 oxygen masks popped down. Right? I didn't know that those panels on those planes are like 20 grand because they're all fire tested and all that stuff. Like the plastic that they use is like the highest that I had no idea. So I'm shitting myself.
Fucking
We're trying to get a story together, and the stewardess come by and she's like, "Oh my God, what happened?" I'm like, "Listen, I just won a huge hand. I got up to celebrate and I put my head through the thing." She's like, "No way, no way." All the oxygen masks are dangling. Anyways, I ended up having to pay for it, but I was like shitting my pants the rest of that trip. I'm like, that's my luck. I go from losing like a $1,500 hand to costing me over 20 grand for this plane panel.
Hey, I gotta touch. I want to say this. That same year, I don't know actually. So the year I played with you, we had Todd Fedoruk, we had Friggy on our plane, and he would go on some streaks too, where he'd fucking just be the shittiest poker player. He lost a bad beat, and I wish he punched the roof. He punches the window, and the fucking thing cracks like right down Broadway. I'm looking at this window just ready to just get sucked out of the fucking airplane. We're 42,000 fucking feet up in the air, and he cracked the window in half. Now there's like 2 different planes to it, so thank God it didn't go through the whole thing.
That was always my move, was to punch
the roof. Yeah, smart. Don't hit the window. Fuck.
Big Ern, I got to tell the story here where we're back down the junkie in San Diego, and it's me and you at the back of the bus, right? So Big Ern had the seat that was right beside the pisser, so he put his feet on top of my headrest, and I would sleep the other way. So at the start of the fucking road trip, and everyone's obviously know who's Big Ern, and Big Ern's like, "Hey, you boys up there got to piss, you fucking piss right now," right? So about 10 games in, 12 games in, Dally comes to me, he's like, "Hey, you gotta tell Big Ern to tell them that they're joking around, because these guys are not taking pisses on the bus, they're gonna fucking piss their pants."
You had like a lineup of like 3 or 4 guys like just kind of on the tiptoes like this because they had to pee so bad. But like, man, there's nothing worse like when you're trying to shut her down.
Oh,
got guys they're tapping your legs to move your feet. I just kind of got over by a month, 2 months into the season. I get on the bus, boys, get your fucking pisses in now because the bathroom's closed the next 6 hours.
I love it too. Big Ern would just go, boys, like every 30, 45 minutes, he'd be like, "Big Obes, we there yet?" I'm like, "No, 8 more hours, big boy." He goes, "We there yet?" But you made it more enjoyable, Big Ern. I think having you down there and like Bix too, a veteran guy, made it a lot more, because fuck, it was tough some days traveling down there.
Yeah, and it was, and we lucked out. Arguably, I would say that would be a top 5 NHL city. Lucked out in the best American League city in the history of the American League. It was amazing playing there, but it just got kind of monotonous with that California. You just play the same teams all the time, and I think they fly now. They fly now, but you jump on the bus in San Diego and you got to bus up to San Jose and Stockton, and that there's about a 4-hour stretch of that highway where that traffic doesn't move all day. And
I know.
Yeah, so the bus trips were long, but it was a wicked year playing there. Like, man, I'm glad I had an opportunity to play there because that city's amazing. And the fan base was sick too.
Fuck, it was Friday nights were $2 beer nights there. Remember how fucking pinned everyone would get in that bar? Bix would go out there and get in a fight. You do your thing. It was just like, I'm like, this is fucking Slapshot fucking free right here, right now. Broadway, what do you got for the Big Ern?
We touched on it a little bit with Daniel Carcillo, and this goes back to like the fighting with like the stage fighting and how some guys would have the anxiety. You said you were obviously very relaxed, but did you ever experience that throughout your career, knowing you're going into a game and you're gonna have to fight the other team's toughest guy?
I would say earlier when I was younger, for sure. Definitely in the minors, having to fight guys that are very skilled at that craft, that are 27, 28, 29 years old, and then getting into the NHL too, my rookie year, because, I'm fighting guys that were kind of like my heroes. Like, I love Tie Domi. Tie Domi is arguably, him and Wendell Clark, like I would grow up a Leaf fan, and him and Wendell Clark, like my 2 favorite Leafs ever. And I loved Tie Domi growing up. Loved him. And then I fought him and I beat him in Toronto. And that kind of solidified my status on my team, where I got the letter in my little cubby hole in my mail slot the next day to get my own place after that fight. I fought him in Toronto, but even when I beat Ty, I didn't really say anything after. I was super humble about it. Obviously you fight, I would say he's a legend in that category, in the heavyweight category. And even when I beat Ty, I was super humble about it because I knew that I would have to fight him again, or the tape was out on me that, you know, there's this big young kid in Ottawa that all the other guys in the league are going to want to fight me now. And so throughout that season, obviously a little bit of anxiety, getting ready to play games and fight these longtime NHL enforcers. But once I got more comfortable as the years went on, it became I just was more relaxed, more focused. I, you know, did a lot of breathing training, some martial arts, some boxing stuff to really help me out. And, you know, the confidence has kept growing year after year. But yeah, I have felt that. And I really feel guys that had to feel that anxiety and all that stuff going into that role, because I know how hard it is. And anybody that's ever done that role, I don't care if you won 100 fights or have never won a fight in your life, if you have the balls to step up and do that role, you have the utmost respect from me and probably anybody else that's ever done that role, because we know how hard it can be on guys mentally. Like, there's guys, and they've been very open about it, that would not sleep for 2 or 3 nights before a game because they knew they would have to fight a Derek Bugard, they would have to fight me, they would have to fight Tie Domi or Derek Cairns or George Larocque or Donald Bashir, like, and it would really, really weigh on guys. And I think that's where you see, you know, a lot of the substance abuse stuff come in to help medicate the pain, medicate the anxiety and all that stuff. So, you know, the role definitely has its negative side to it for sure.
Another great Big Ern quote in Vancouver. I don't think it was the night of the Brawl, but he goes, after we have pregame meal together, he goes, "Hey, Big Obes, who's going to have a better pregame nap today, me or Big Tom Siesto?" I'm like,
the boys would love that one.
I'm going to say your head's going to hit the pillow a little bit better than both.
I'd always say that, like, you know, I think that was, you know, being a little bit, I was just joking with my team.
You were just joking with the boys. It was just funny.
I would ever get would be in the room, and whatever guy was coming into town that game or that whatever, I would just say in the, "Hey, boys, who's going to have a better pregame nap, Big Ern or Big Tom Sestito?"
Oh, fucker. You weren't being cocky. You were just having fun with the boys, but it's true. I was never at your level, but when I was a rookie, my pregame naps being like, holy fuck, it's, you know, is this, I really have to do this tonight. So, Big Ern, we could do this all day with you, buddy. I'm so proud of you. Everyone's proud of what you're doing now. I missed the high steps with the white skates, buddy.
I still got it going on the outdoor rinks, big boy. I've been trying to show Gabe. We've been high stepping. We've got an outdoor rink around the corner. I've been showing him.
That's good, because you have the best high steps in the game. I always said that, and those Wets Jets were. So thank you very much. Say hi to Cupcakes and the Game Man for us, Big Ern. You're a legend, buddy, and we love you here at Missin Curfew.
All right, boys. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Gratz.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.